Ladies and gentlemen, I come to you tonight with joy in my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to you tonight with happiness upon my soul. Ladies and gentlemen, I come with you with a spirit of victory. Though the battle is not yet won, we have our enemy on the run. And with that, the next thing I have to say is, hi, how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media circles as the Front Porch Conservative. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform bringing you this live stream that we call Chattin on the Porch. We get together Monday through Thursday nights at 7:30 Eastern, unless we are otherwise interrupted, to talk about the news, share our views, laugh through it all, cry through it all, laugh and cry through it all if needed. But otherwise, we're going to make it through this crazy thing we call life. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, known to some as the fine fella in the fedora. Occasionally, I'm referred to as the common man with common sense, but above all else, I am referred to your host. Oh, I tell you, I almost can't even talk tonight. I've got that much going on in the brain. I feel words tumbling right over top of each other, but that's okay. As a somewhat trained, well, never mind, I have no training whatsoever. As a somewhat competent host of a live stream, I'll pull myself together. I will make it happen. We will make it work. Much to talk about this evening. Oh my goodness, the fun we're going to have. The laughs to be enjoyed, I hope, by you and everyone out there who's going to watch this. So please, do me some favors. If you are not subscribed to my channel on Rumble and on YouTube, go ahead and do so. Besides, you know you really want to do it. You just need that little bit of a push. And by the way, for you folks out there on YouTube, double check your subscriptions. YouTube's playing games with me. I do not appreciate that at all. Hit the thumbs up, leave some comments, share the link around. You guys know what to do. As members of Fedora Nation, you are the best audience on the internet. And oh my goodness. Oh, goodness me, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, news is dropping all over the place. This is a crazy day in a crazy month of a crazy year. I tell you what, if someone sits around and says, I wish there was something going on, I'm so bored, I think I want to walk up and slap them. I love them. I'm going to slap them because they just are not paying attention at all. Goodness me. Oh my goodness. TBA over on Rumble says, I'm back for the duration. Wingnut number 1 is here. Well, I no doubts about that. And good evening, madame. I even got gussied up for you, baby. And the year is not even done yet. TBA, you are so right. You are so right indeed. Oh my goodness. Folks, I really do believe this. I genuinely, I do believe this. We have much to be hopeful for. There is a lot of things happening that gives me evidence that the battle is not won, but at this moment, we're winning. Now, there's going to be ups and downs between now and November 5th, but I'm telling you right now, there's a lot to be thankful about. Oh, goodness. Oh, dear. Well, hey, Gypsy, we love you. You do what you need to do. You know, be safe. Don't get me wrong. Your company is always, it's that bad. Ooh, okay. Honey, you do what you got to do. We absolutely love you. We love it every time you're here. But if it comes down to your safety versus staying on this live stream with us, you go do what you got to do. We understand that completely. Really? Now, there's one I didn't even know for sure. Now, see, okay. For those of you who might be new to the Electronic Front Porch, I have a greeting, or I should say a benediction, that I always give at the end of every live stream. And it's a line from a Tom T. Hall song, and it goes like this. It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money. Now, the song is referred to as the poet, and the title of the song is The Poet and the Cowboy. Okay? The song is commonly called Faster Horses. Now, the song is written and performed by a gentleman named Tom T. Hall. Well, Tom T. Hall went by many different nicknames back in the day, but one of them was the storyteller. And Tom was probably one of the most prodigious songwriters of his era there in the late 60s and the early 70s. Bunch of stuff that either he sang and performed himself or he wrote for other people. And yeah, Harper Valley PTA was written by Tom T. Hall. There you go. Yeah. Oh, great movie. Yeah, it was a great movie as well. So absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's get down to business, y'all. I said we have a lot to celebrate in this day and hour, even though the news sometimes seems dark. And with that, we're going to start with a rally up in, it's Big Rapids, Michigan. Thinking about our dear friend Gypsy. J.D. Vance appearing at a rally, made the following comment, and y'all are going to love this. As always, give me a sound check.
In fact, I've heard that for her debate in just a couple of weeks, she's going to put on a Navy suit, a long red tie, and adopt the slogan, "Make America Great Again." I think that's what...
Now, J.D. Vance is obviously referring to Kamala Harris. And, by the way, hello, WWG1. The funny fellow wearing the great-looking hat is your friendly neighborhood front porch conservative, host extraordinaire on the rise. Anyway, we do have matter of fact, hey, you think that this show doesn't get around? Let me tell y'all something. We've got people everywhere. And if you don't believe me, now this thing that J.D. Vance is saying about her wearing a blue suit and a red tie and all that stuff, let me tell you something. Our spies have gotten a picture of Kamala in this outfit. She's serious. She's genuinely serious about this. She's going to do it. And if you're wondering what it looks like, well, here you go, folks. I'm telling you, it just, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they say that imitation is the greatest form of flattery, but I'm sorry. If this is what she's going to look like trying to imitate Donald Trump, Lord have mercy. That is just wrong in so many different ways. That's just, my God, that's just bad. That's just bad. This show does, oh God. I left myself open for that one, but that's a good one, small time. That's really good. We get around, but not like Kamala. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Now, we're being somewhat tongue-in-cheek. Gee, there's a shock. But there is a reason why we are starting off with this humorous interpretation of J.D. Vance's comment. A story is broken this morning. Well, actually, I should say late last night, but it started getting out on the wires today. And again, Kamala Harris is trying to rip off one of Donald Trump's policies. And if you don't believe me, let's go to Axios. Headline: Harris flip-flops on building the border wall. Oh my God. What's she done now? Story by Alex Thompson and Hans Nichols. We have the following. If she is elected president, Kamala Harris pledges to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the wall along the southern border, a project she once opposed and called, quote, un-American during the Trump administration. It's the latest example of Harris flip-flopping on her past liberal positions, such as supporting Medicare for all and banning fracking, proposals that aides say she is now against. Harris is embracing a more hawkish immigration policy as Donald Trump's campaign spends tens of millions of dollars attacking her on the border. But she still has significant differences with Trump on immigration, opposing his approach to family separation and his plans for mass deportation. In her speech to the Democrat National Convention last week, Harris said she would sign the recent bipartisan border security bill, which Trump had ordered his allies to kill, fearing it would help the Democrats in the November elections. No, hold up. Whoa up on that hoss. Boys, Donald Trump didn't tell Republicans in Congress to kill the bill because he wanted some kind of issue or afraid the Democrats would be helped in November. He tried to kill the bill because it was nothing more than a giveaway to Ukraine and had nothing in it about real border security. Okay? No. So I'm not going to sit here and let that one slide by and not make commentary on it. I mean, J.D. Vance gave a full-throated defense of the actions of Senate Republicans in trying to kill that thing, even though James Lankford, Republican from Oklahoma, had led the negotiations on behalf of the Republicans. And it got so bad that even Mitch McConnell hung Lankford out to dry. So no, please don't give me this crap about, it was going to help the Democrats in November. That's why Trump wanted it killed. No, he wanted it killed because it wasn't going to do anything. But back to the article. The bill, negotiated by senators such as James Lankford of Oklahoma and Chris Murphy of Connecticut, requires hundreds of millions of dollars of unspent funds to be used to continue building a border wall. And, quote, it requires the Trump border wall, Lankford told Axios. It is in the bill itself that it sets the standards that were set during the Trump administration. Here's where it will be built. Here's how it has to be built, the height, the type, everything during the Trump construction. The Harris campaign says the border deal is a whole lot more than continuation of the border funding. It's a tiny fraction of what Trump has proposed. Lankford's office estimated the legislation would spend $650 million on a wall, down from $18 billion Trump requested in 2018. The bill, which Murphy described as a compromise, also included provisions with more money for asylum lawyers and judges for the overloaded immigration system. It also gave the president the authority to shut down the border if more than average 5,000 migrants cross per day. Well, the president already had the authority to shut down the border. That's the biggest bone of contention in all this. Joe Biden had every tool available to him that Donald Trump did. Donald Trump effectively shut down border crossings by the time he left in January 2021, and I will hammer this home all the way to the election. By the time he left in January 2021, border crossings at the southern border were at their lowest level in 20 years. Joe Biden had all the same tools. He didn't need this boondoggle of a bill. Okay? So forget it. TBA says Mitch would let his mother hang out on the clothesline if it further his agenda. You got that right. You got that right. WWG1 says, I'm waiting for her to say she wants to make America great again. Now, you say that right now, and I'm telling you, she's going to do it. Before it's all said and done, she's going to use that language. And when she does, her campaign will go right in the toilet. Now, here's a good question from Small Time. One now has to ask, is Lankford getting Ukraine kickbacks? Good question. Good question. Yeah. Oh, honey, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue with the article. Harris advisors note that the bipartisan border proposal didn't include any new money for continuing building the wall. Huh? What? Wait a minute. I thought they said it just did. It just extended the timeline to spend funds that had been appropriated during Trump's last year as president, they say, although the legislation has new restrictions to ensure money is spent on barriers. In declaring her candidacy in her first... Now, listen to this, folks. In declaring her candidacy in her first run for president in 2019, Harris called the wall Trump's, quote, medieval vanity project that wasn't going to stop transnational gangs from entering the U.S. In February 2020, Harris wrote on Facebook that, quote, Trump's border wall is a complete waste of taxpayer money and won't make us any safer. In April of 2017, soon after joining the Senate, Harris said the wall was, quote, a stupid use of money. I will block any funding for it. Lankford said he was surprised with Harris's full embrace of the border bill this year. He told Axios that Harris wasn't involved in the months-long negotiations. Quote, we never saw any vice president staff there. She was a Johnny-come-never. Quote, I know she's talking about it now, but she wasn't talking about it at all before. Good point. Murphy called it an aggressive plan, but didn't emphasize the money for the wall. Quote, we're creating bold new tools to get control of the border for the first time in a long time, but our bill does not deviate from our nation's core values. Murphy, you lying sack of crap. You had control of the border. You had control of the border before you guys ever dreamed up this bill. Donald Trump had control of the border. All Joe Biden had to do, my friend, was keep Trump's policies in place. The border would have remained under control, as opposed to 10 million people in the past 3.5 years having crossed the border, and now God only knows where the hell they all are and doing whatever the hell they're doing. So please don't give me that, we're getting bold new tools to get our border under control for the first time in a long time. That is a load of crap, and you know it is. Lying, stinking Connecticut Democrat. Anyway. President Biden, then the presumed Democrat nominee, lambasted Trump for demanding Republicans kill the compromise, calling it pure politics. Quote, he feels it would be a political win for him and a political loser for him, Biden said in a State of the Union address. But some Democrats also criticized Biden for embracing conservative and restrictive policies on immigration that were included in the bill. Senator Alex Padilla, Democrat, California, opposed the bill and said, quote, it fails to provide relief for a single dreamer, a single farm worker, a single essential worker, or a long-term resident. Beyond embracing the bipartisan bill, Harris's campaign also portrayed her as an immigration hardliner in ads. One Harris TV ad frames her time as California's Attorney General as that of a border state prosecutor, includes images of the border wall. In another, Harris' team highlights her support of boosting the number of border agents. Most of the Trump campaign ads have attacked Harris for the Biden administration's struggle to deal with the waves of migrants coming across the border. Like the wall itself, Harris' changes on border policy reflect how Trump has shifted the political debate on immigration in the past decade. Now, referring to one of those ads, we've got an example of one, and you guys may have seen this before, but if you haven't, do me a favor and check this out.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire...
Now remember what Lankford said. During the whole negotiations on that compromise border bill, she was never there. Her staff was never there. They were never engaged. They never did anything. They were Johnny-come-nevers. Anyway, back to the ad.
Thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Okay, now I'm going to back this up for a second because I'm going to cut the sound out, but I'm going to ask you guys a question. Okay, so she's up there. What do you know? Oh, there's Border Wall. Oh, my goodness. The Vanity Project. Oh, there's some more Border Wall. Oh, my goodness. Look at all that. Border Wall there, too. Oh, my goodness. She seems to like the Border Wall. She seems to like it so much she's putting it in her campaign ads. Oh, my word. TBA says, did this get community posted noted yet? I have no idea, brother. No idea. Perfect time. WWG1 says, perfect time for a counter ad by the Trump administration. Let it compare and contrast. I'm telling you, she's walking right into the trap. Walking right into the trap. Oh, hold on, TBA. I saw that comment about old mashed potato face. You just hang on, buddy. Hang on, buddy. I know where you're going. And, as your loving host, it is my job to try to every so often, you got to take people back to the groove yard of forgotten favorites. You know what? Forget it. Let's just go ahead and do it. Tell me something, guys. All this flip-flopping, does it remind you anybody? Does it make you think about somebody from a past presidential campaign? I don't know about you guys, but this is starting to sound mighty familiar.
I actually did vote for the $87 billion before I voted against it.
One more time, because the groove yard of forgotten favorites. Sometimes you got to listen carefully. Check it out one more time, folks.
I actually did vote for the $87 billion before I voted against it.
There you go. She's starting to sound, yeah, exactly. Ding, 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 ding. I love you guys. I absolutely love you guys. The smartest audience on the internet. Yes. Yes. Yep, that's right. John reporting for duty, Carrie. And now I will say one thing about the authors of the Axios article. Alex Thompson and Hans Nichols, they're absolutely right. Trump has totally changed the debate about border security. He absolutely has. Yeah, like the wall itself, Harris changes on the border policy reflect how Trump has shifted the political debate on immigration in the past decade. I absolutely agree with that. And now she's got to take another one, try to take another one of Trump's positions. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand by the question that I asked you guys. A while back. Which would you rather have? Do you want a easy listening tribute band, or do you want real rock and roll? Look, if you want easy listening, champagne sipping, tribute band music, vote for Kamala Harris, because that's basically what she's the equivalent of. If, on the other hand, you want hard party and rock and roll, vote for Donald Trump, because that's what you're going to get. She I swear I'm going back to this meme because it's so stinking true. She's turning into Donald Trump, or trying to. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They're trying to. They're absolutely trying to. But I think, I could be wrong, but I think even the press is getting to the point that they're like, yeah, this honeymoon's getting over real quick. Matter of fact, and I don't have it pulled up. I wish I did. Did you guys hear about the stuff coming out in the New York Times? Oh my gosh. Let me see if I can get my hands on, if I can find the tweet real fast. Hang on a second. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll even do you better than a tweet. I got an article. You're going to love this. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. That would not surprise me either. Oh, yes, ma'am. I know what you listen to, and yeah, we're going to give you the hard stuff. I've got a story here from the UK Daily Mail, and I'm telling you, I am feeling ebullient. I am feeling just not 100%, but I'm telling you what, I'm feeling pretty good. I really am. You got to see this headline. From the UK Daily Mail, New York Times turns on Kamala as the liberal newspaper runs a string of brutal op-eds slamming Harris as weak, a phony, ignorant. Is her brat summer finally over? Article by Martha Williams for the UKDailyMail.com. We've got the following. There are few cheerleaders more reliable than Kamala Harris's friends in the liberal media. Ever since President Joe Biden dropped out of the 2024 election race last month, their print presses and the TV networks have put in a hard shift trying to paper over Harris's past record as the most unpopular vice president in American history. To read and listen to their florid praise is to believe that Harris is already a shoo-in for the president and not an 11th hour replacement of his Democrat nominee. And that was until her last lackluster Thursday night speech at last week's Democrat National Convention, which appears to have halted the torrent of good-feeling fangirling. The reliably liberal New York Times was among the first to suddenly change tack on Friday, taking aim at what many perceived to be Harris's fatal lack of clear policy, with a brutal headline that read, quote, "Joy is not a strategy." Going further into this article, in a sour commentary, New York Times deputy opinion editor Patrick Healy said that he cringed when former President Bill Clinton took the convention stage on Tuesday to claim that Harris would be, quote, the president of joy. How's that going to help the millions of Americans whose livelihoods are now at stake, Healy asked. And why has Harris failed to conduct a single interview or serious press conference since Biden stepped aside last month? Which, by the way, folks, by the by, we have got some news about that. Hang on, we're going to get to that in a minute too. Ultimately, quote, ultimately, she needs more voters in the swing states to trust her to handle the economy better than her opponent. Harris can't coast on joy, Healy concluded witheringly. But worse was to come from the New York Times. On Monday, the newspaper published a guest essay titled Trump Can Win on Character by conservative commentator Rich Lowry. Pulling no punches, Lowry wrote that Harris is, quote, weak and a phony and doesn't truly care about the country or the middle class. Lowry attacked Harris's record as vice president, namely her failure to secure the border or to address inflation. Quote, she doesn't care if her tax policies will destroy jobs. She's been part of an administration that's seen real wages stagnate while minimizing the problem because the party line matters to her more than economic reality for working Americans, Lowry added. Of course, such critiques aren't uncommon in conservative circles, but for such harsh words to appear in the New York Times will no doubt be seen as a warning shot to Harris's team. Another Times guest essay written by veteran financial journalist Roger Lowenstein and published on Tuesday took further aim at Harris's economic policy. In the article, which, in fairness, also criticized Trump's position on import tariffs as, quote, nonsensical, Lowenstein slammed Harris as censorious and vague in her plan to unveil communist-style price controls on supermarkets. Quote, forget that her proposal addresses a problem that no longer exists. More dismaying was her seeming ignorance that price controls, almost without exception, have led to shortages, supply chain disruptions, and eventually higher prices, he wrote. And it's not just the Times. Indeed, a sense of unease with Harris now appears to be creeping across the commentariat, with the authoritative Wall Street Journal and left-leaning TheHill.com adding to the disquiet. Are you willing to pay $5 trillion for Kamala vibes? Asked senior commentator James Freeman in the Wall Street Journal on Friday. And on it goes with this. Folks, I am telling you, the bloom may be coming off the rose. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not expecting the mainstream liberal media to all of a sudden get a case of journalism for the next 70 days. But I'm telling you right now, she's hurting herself in two respects. I told y'all the fact that she's not giving interviews is hurting her. Why? Because when she does actually make a policy prescription, then what's happening is that's the only thing you hear. And people are getting tired of it, including the media. You know what? I will pull that up real quick. I will absolutely pull that up. Give me 1 second here. But yeah, she's got problems, folks. Even the press is starting to just give her grief about this. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can find this real fast. The one I'm looking for. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here it is. Hang on. You get this thing pulled up. Yeah, just a reminder of what she can be like in a debate. Check this out.
It's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing.
Yeah, folks, this is what we're going to potentially see in about 14 days, which, by the way, we've got some stories about that. Now, she's catching hell from everybody. She is getting flip-flopping everywhere. And by the way, it's not just the border wall she's now flip-flopping on. You guys remember this story? Did you remember seeing this back in earlier this year? Biden administration reportedly doubling down on gas car crackdown. Tinkering with the near-term speed of implementation doesn't change the end game, which is banning new gas-powered cars, group tells Fox News Digital. This is an article by Thomas Cantanachi. Okay. Now remember, the Biden-Harris administration has been trying to really push EVs. They're really pushing it hard. We need to get these awful carbon emission, gasoline-powered cars off the roads. Everybody needs to drive an EV, even though it might cost them $60,000 or $70,000, which is a car payment of probably $500 or $600 at a minimum every month for Lord knows probably 6 or 7 years. But we got to get these wretched gas-powered cars off the roads, don't you know? Well, glory. I think Kamala got a case of religion because she's flip-flopped on that. From the post-millennial, we have the following. Kamala reverses course on EV mandates despite supporting them for years. The campaign of Democrat presidential candidate Vice President Kamala Harris claimed Tuesday, no, she doesn't support mandates for electric vehicles. No. Story by David Creighton, we have the following. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign claimed on Tuesday that she doesn't support mandates for electric vehicles. However, in 2019, Harris, along with other senators, supported a bill to set the U.S. on a path for new car sales to be all electric. In a statement, the Harris campaign said that the vice president does not support EV mandates in response to claims made by the Trump Vance campaign about Harris's position on electric vehicles. The Harris campaign is now claiming that it doesn't support EV mandates. Excuse me 1 second, folks. Hang on. Gotta take a... So excited. I'm getting all choked up here. Anyway, back to the article. Reporter Amber Duke posted a summary of Bill S-1487 from the 116th Congress. The bill had been introduced by Senator Jeff Merkley, Democrat from Oregon, and also co-sponsored by then Senator Kamala Harris and others to, quote, amend the Clean Air Act to create a national zero-emission vehicle standard. A summary of the bill stated, quote, the Zero Emission Vehicles Act would set a federal zero emissions vehicle standard to boost the market for battery electric vehicles and hydrogen cell vehicles. The standard would require that by 2030, 50% of sales of new passenger vehicles are ZEVs and ramp up 5% each year to 100% by 2040. The Trump Vance campaign responded to the fact check posted on the Trump War Room, quote, Kamala's handlers have done another walkback, now claiming that she doesn't support electric vehicle mandates. A little bit more from this article. Quote, this one is particularly interesting because the government that she's currently working for is trying to convert half of gas cars to electric by 2030, the campaign added. Folks, we have reason. I'm not saying this is over. Not by a long shot. A lot has got to happen, but I am telling you right now, this woman is absolutely on the run, and we haven't even got to the debate yet. That's a great question. And this is the problem she's got. The internet is indeed forever. Once it's out there, ain't no going back. Well, you're probably right. I am being a bit generous with calling what we currently have an administration. Very true. Zippy over on Rumble with a Rumble rant, and thank you very much for that, sir. China has now mid-quality EVs at the $20,000 to $30,000 price point now. Some are built better than Teslas. Did not know that. Thank you for the Rumble rant and for the information. Appreciate that. TBA says the mainstream media is throwing Harris under the bus. Her time on the ticket is now in question. Well, I don't know. After what they tried to do to Robert Kennedy and Cornel West today, I'm not so sure even if she wanted to get off the ticket, you could get her off the ticket. And we'll get to that story. Woo! Yeah, I mean, this woman is getting spun around like a piñata getting hit with a stick. I mean, WWG1 says, you mean the stuff I say here is forever? Egads. Oh, no. Might make you think about what you're saying. There you go. I'm telling you, folks, it is absolutely glorious to watch. And it's just absolutely amazing where this is going right now. She won't put out any policy prescriptions. The policy prescriptions she does put out, she's getting raked over the coals for it. The longer she doesn't talk to the press, they're like, well, are you going to start telling us anything? She's being, by the New York Times, she's being called weak, ineffective. I mean, again, I'm not saying that the major news media got a case of old-time religion, but I'm telling you right now, this lady's got problems. Big-time problems. Oh, and by the way, speaking of talking to the press, well, I'll tell you what. Let me hold that and do a real quick commercial. First, I want to thank TBA because he's out there saying something very important over on Rumble. Please, oh please, give your humble host a thumbs up right now, be it on Rumble or on YouTube. And who is your humble host, you might add? Well, I'm so glad you asked me that question. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative. Sometimes I'm called the common man with common sense. And this live stream that you have happened upon is called Chattin on the Porch. We get together Monday through Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern. We usually talk for about an hour and a half about stuff going on in the news. We vent, we cry, we laugh. Sometimes we do all three. Sometimes we do other things, and we can't really tell you about that because they ain't legal in some states. But otherwise, we have a good time. So if this is your cup of tea or your bottle of beer or your glass of bourbon, whatever it might be, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. I would really genuinely appreciate it. Also, go ahead and leave some comments, and also leave some comments on the way out. It truly do help the algorithm. He seems to like it when that sort of thing is done. Give a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the link around, and otherwise, become a member of the smartest audience on the internet, known as Fedora Nation. We love you. We want you here. Do it today. All right. Speaking, I'm telling you guys, I am in a good mood tonight. Woo! I'm having fun. Speaking of talking to the press, it's finally happened. Kamala has announced her very first sit-down interview, but you are not going to believe the terms under which she's doing it. And with that, I take you to the internet pages of CNN.com. Harris and Walz to sit with CNN for exclusive first joint interview since the campaign began. Now, I want you to notice some things about this headline. WWG1 says, sit down interview. You mean she won't be kneeling? I disavow that comment. Funny though it may be, I have to disavow, but it is a good question. You guys are on a roll tonight, I'm telling you what. Okay, I have a question, and I mean this in all sincerity. She's running for president of the United States. Why does she need Tim Walz there? Let me ask that question again. She's running for president of the United States. Why does she need Tim Walz there? I mean, I've seen J.D. Vance do interviews on his own. Lord knows every Sunday morning that boy is out there talking to anybody who'll put a microphone in front of him and a camera. I mean, he's been on Meet the Press. He's been on This Week with ABC News. He's been on Face the Nation. He's been on CNN State of the Union. Good Lord. J.D. Vance is out there. He is working it. I love the energy on that young man. He is absolutely working it. Donald Trump will sit down with anybody, liberal, conservative, middle of the road, mainstream media, podcaster, live streamer, liberal, conservative, doesn't matter. And he'll do it all by himself. And he'll do it for like a good 90 minutes to 2 hours if you let that boy talk. Donald Trump talk your leg off. He doesn't need J.D. Vance there with him. To the best of my recollection so far, since J.D. Vance was put on the ticket, they have done one joint interview together. Well, now this is true. This is true. But my point, and I don't necessarily just, and good evening, Professor. Glad to have you here. And this is a fair take. Every convention, the candidates do a joint interview. Matter of fact, yeah, I was just commenting on it that Trump and Vance did a joint interview with Jesse Waters of Fox News, if I recall correctly. But since then, they've been doing single interviews on their own all over the place. Yeah, it wouldn't be exceptional that she's doing it. But my thing is, she's been the presidential candidate either by presumption or by actuality now for almost 40 days. This is the very first interview she's doing with anybody, whether she's doing it by herself or whether she's doing it with Tim Walz. I mean, I don't necessarily gripe about the fact she's doing it with Tim Walz, but you mean now 40 days after your elevation to become Democrat nominee, and almost a solid week after you accepted your party's nomination, you're just now sitting down to a joint interview? The other thing is, I love the way that this headline phrases it, because I don't know if the copy editors at CNN were deliberately trying to throw shade, but they wound up doing it anyway. Notice how that's phrased. Sit with CNN for exclusive first joint interview since the campaign began. Like I say, I don't know if the copy editors were deliberately trying to throw shade, but they're making a point, and they're making a point, if you get what I'm saying. Anyway, let's check this thing out. By Michael Williams and Kevin Liptak, we've got the following. Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will sit with CNN for their first joint interview on Thursday as Democrats work to broaden their base's excitement from last week's DNC. The interview, conducted by CNN's chief political correspondent and anchor Dana Bash, will air at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, which occurs as the candidates embark on a bus tour through the battleground state of Georgia and marks the first time Harris has sat with a journalist for an in-depth, on-the-record conversation since President Joe Biden dropped his bid for a second term and endorsed her on July 21st. The 37 days since her candidacy began have generated a swell of enthusiasm and momentum for Harris, including at last week's convention in Chicago. But her lack of a formal news conference or interview has generated criticism from Republican rivals. Well, by the way, I respectfully beg to disagree with the authors of this article. It's not just Republicans, okay? It's even some Democrats. And even some liberal mainstream media news organizations are getting critical of this. So, moving on to the article. Thursday's sit-down interview fulfills a vow she made earlier in August to schedule a sit-down before the end of the month. With the interview, Harris's extraordinarily truncated campaign is entering a new post-convention phase. Her team is anticipating more scrutiny as she and Walz enter the final weeks before early voting begins. Harris has also been preparing for a September 10th debate with her Republican rival, former President Donald Trump. Over the past several weeks, Harris has responded to some shouted questions from reporters as she campaigns in battleground states. She also sat down for 3 interviews with content creators and influencers during the DNC. Wait a minute. Wait a second. I'm not saying the authors of this article are wrong at all. I could have missed this. But and I'm asking this question in all sincerity. Did anybody else hear about this before we read this article tonight? I'm serious. I'm genuinely serious. Has anybody heard about these 3 interviews? And I will freely confess that I am not the best person in the world at monitoring all formats of people who are on the left who are in media, be they live streamers or podcasters or whatever. I'll confess to that. But has anybody heard anything about these interviews? Again, and WWG1 says nope. Okay, that's fair. Gypsy's like no. Okay. And again, If I'm wrong, I will, you guys know me. If I'm wrong, I'll come on here and tell you, hey, this is actually true. Here's the proof, yada, yada, yada. I am yet to hear about this. 3 interviews with 3 live streamers during the convention. Oh, no, content creators and influencers during the DNC. I have not heard about this. Yeah, everybody is noticing that she's avoiding interviews. We're going to get to that here in a minute too. The last part of that, we're going to get to that too. All right, back to the article. That has done little to dampen criticism issued most sharply by Republican Vice President nominee, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, for going more than a month as the Democrat Party's standard bearer without facing the scrutiny that comes with a sit-down interview with a journalist. Vance and Trump have held several media availabilities during that same time. Numerous, excuse me, and that is an accurate way of saying it. Quote, I think it's really disgraceful for both Kamala Harris, but also for a lot of the American media that participates in this stuff, to have a person who's been the presumptive nominee of the Democrat Party for 17 days and refuses to take a single question from the American media, Vance said in Wisconsin earlier this month. Some of Vance's and Trump's media interactions, however, have presented problems for both candidates, with Vance having to explain past statements he made about childless women and Trump questioning Harris's racial identity and falsely accusing his biracial opponent of only recently presenting herself as black. Those are exactly the kinds of unforced media errors the Harris campaign is seeking to avoid. The interview will present Harris with the first chance to elucidate her positions on various domestic and foreign issues during a campaign that has so far been heavy on vibes, but light on concrete policy. She will also have a chance, if she chooses, to explain how her positions might differ from Biden. Previous major interviews have presented a challenge for Harris. During a 2021 sit-down with NBC's Lester Holt, Harris responded with annoyance when asked why she had not visited the U.S.-Mexico border as part of her assignment to investigate root causes of migration from Central and South America. Quote, at some point, we are going to the border, Harris said in the interview. We've been to the border, so this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. Holt replied, you have not been to the border. I haven't been to Europe, but I mean, I don't understand the point you're making, Harris said with a laugh. I'm not discounting the importance of the border. More recent interviews have shown Harris on steadier ground. In the moments following the disastrous June 27th debate that would eventually torpedo Biden's hopes for a second term, Harris sat down for an interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper and presented a strong defense of the president's performance, being one of the very few Biden allies who publicly remain staunchly in his corner. Well. So now, what is it? This Thursday? Is it this Thursday night? We might have to live stream that. We might indeed have to live stream that. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be very interesting. I got to think about that one. I'm almost sure I want to do it. I'm almost very sure I want to do it. Okay. I see that. I see that hand out there. Bless your heart. Hang on a second. Give me a second here, folks. Got to look for something. Oh, I saw this from earlier today. And in light of this subject, it's definitely worth mentioning. Let me pop this up here real fast. Give me a second. I don't know where this comes from. I'd love to get my hands on the whole article. I'm not like I said, I'm not sure what publication this snippet comes out of, but I would love to get my hands on this whole thing. If somebody finds this, let me know. But anyway, let me pop this up on screen for you guys. Here we go. Kamala Harris's campaign is apparently afraid to put walls on TV because even he doesn't know what the policies are. And again, I don't know what publication this snippet is taken from, but God, I'd love to get my hands on the whole thing. One of the issues that Harris World is currently working to address is how to deploy running mate Tim Walz in the media. The danger of sending him out to do a big solo interview is that he might not have full command of where Harris is on every issue. As someone pointed out to us last night, Harris talks about the opportunity economy, but if Walls were asked to define it, would he know how? That's like I said, I don't know who wrote this, but that's a great point. She won't tell anybody what she believes. She won't lay out her policies, and she's hamstringing not just herself. She's hamstringing, the second person on the ticket. They can't go out and do anything. Both of them are having to stay undercover for their own good. Because if he think about it for a second, and this point is completely valid. If he goes out and gives an interview and says what Kamala Harris wants to do, and it turns out later, I don't really believe that, and that's kind of not what we're trying to do here, he's just absolutely gummed up the works, and they don't have the time for the works to be gummed up. They absolutely don't have the time for the works to be gummed up. I tell you what, it is not good in Kamala land. Oh my goodness. As a matter of fact, from what I hear, this whole thing about meeting the press is really causing her a lot of grief. As a matter of fact, it's really stressing her out, and photos have been managed to be found about that. Look at this. That poor woman looks terrified. Bless her heart. Oh my word. That's just, Look at the stress on that woman's face. My goodness. I tell you what, that's just bad. That is just absolutely bad. I almost feel sorry for her. Well, okay. Maybe not so much, but you get my point. So, I'll tell you what, the meme makers are absolutely having a field day. All right, we got a little bit. Oh, by the way. Now, I don't know if this point is true, but Laura Ingraham is reporting that the interview may be pre-taped. May be pre-taped. We don't know this, okay? Now, I have not seen this from anybody. I have not seen this from anybody at all, but I tell you what, if this is pre-taped and it's not live, oh man, she's going to get roasted for this. And might I say, well, she should. I mean, like I said, you can not like Donald Trump. You can like Donald Trump. Okay. You can not like his opinions. You can not like his policy positions, whatever. But it doesn't matter to him. CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, live streamers, content creator, it doesn't matter who, he'll talk to anybody. And he'll tell you what he thinks. You ask him a question, he'll give you his opinion. She either can't or won't. TBA says bets are on if Harris actually does this interview. Dude, if she backs out of this thing now, after announcing it, it's just... Okay, I'm going to give an opinion on this, and I could be absolutely dead wrong. Maybe this sort of thing doesn't matter anymore. But to the average American that is just now tuning in to this presidential race, they're going to start noticing certain things. And one of them is, why will this woman not sit down with the press? Why won't she take questions? Why won't she do interviews? Why won't she do press conferences? What's she trying to hide? And like I say, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but this stuff is actually starting to become noticeable, and it is a point of conversation. But the other thing about that is this. I understand the strategy of her staff. Keep Kamala away from the microphone. Let's run out the clock. I don't think you can do it in this race. I really don't. She, even though she is the, quote, incumbent in this race, she is the underdog. Who do more people trust on the economy? Donald Trump. Who do more people trust on getting the border under control? Donald Trump. Who do more people trust on getting inflation under control? Donald Trump. Who do more people trust on foreign policy? Donald Trump. And it doesn't matter whose poll you look at. So if she is going to make any kind of inroads, she's got to start talking about these issues. And the longer that she doesn't talk about them, the more people are going to look at it and go, well, I know what Donald Trump wants to do. I may not agree with him on everything, but I know what this guy has done when he was president. I can't figure out what in the world she wants to do. Well, and great question. That's a great question. If she won't talk to the press, how is she going to deal with people like Xi Jinping of China or Vladimir Putin of Russia or Maduro or Venezuela or any other bad cat around the world that's trying to do us harm? You know, I mean, yeah. Anyway, well, we got a little bit more Kamala news. And apparently, the deal is now done. From the Truth Social account of Donald J. Trump. I have reached an agreement with the radical left Democrats for a debate with Comrade Kamala Harris. It will be broadcast live on ABC Fake News, by far the nastiest and most unfair newscaster in the business, on Tuesday, September 10th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The rules will be the same as the last CNN debate, which seemed to work out well for everyone except perhaps crooked Joe Biden. The debate will be stand-up, and candidates cannot bring notes or cheat sheets. We will also have been given assurance by ABC that this will be a fair and equitable debate, and that neither side will be given the questions in advance. No Donna Brazil. Harris would not agree to the Fox News debate on September 4th, but that date will be held open in case she changes her mind or flip-flops, as she's done on every single one of her long-held and cherished policy beliefs. A possible third debate, which would go to NBC Fake News, has not been agreed to by the radical left. God bless America. In simpler language, Donald Trump got everything he wanted just by standing his ground. TBA says, did you watch the Greg Hunter interview of Martin Armstrong? No, I have not seen that. I have not seen that. But let me jot that down real fast. Hang on. Give me 1 second, folks. Okay, got it. Thank you. Try and check that out. So we now have a debate. And to make it just a little bit more official. Oh, wait a minute. What happened here? Hey, wait a minute. Where did I go? What the heck? Hang on. What the heck is going on here? Hang on a minute. This thing has lost its mind. Yeah, that thing's... All right, let me step out for a second. Be right back. Why is my camera... All right, hang on a minute, folks. Hang on. Lord, this computer of mine, I tell you what. No, the show is not over. The show must go on. Daggone it. All right, hang on a minute. Yeah. Computer update, TBA says. Everything update. I think the mice are starting to get upset with me about the cheese that I'm serving to keep them on the treadmill that operates my little computer. Crazy. Sorry about that, folks. But I am back. Don't worry. Anywho. So yeah. From Breitbart. Donald Trump reaches agreement for debate against Comrade Kamala Harris. Article written by Hannah Knudsen. We have the following. Former President Donald Trump announced on Tuesday that he finally reached an agreement with the radical left Democrats for a debate with Comrade Kamala to take place Tuesday, September 10th on ABC. While Harris initially announced in late July she was ready to debate Trump, there's been back and forth over the details, including the rules of the debate. More recently, the Harris campaign pushed to change the debate rules, demanding unmuted microphones. Many conjectured it was because the Harris campaign was seeking another I'm speaking moment. One individual familiar with the negotiations told Politico's Playbook she's more than happy to have exchanges with him if he tries to interrupt her. And given how shook he seems by her, he's very prone to having intemperate outbursts, and I think the campaign would want viewers to hear that. The Trump campaign pushed back, asserting that they agreed to the ABC debate with the same terms as the CNN debate, including muted microphones. So yeah, Donald Trump held his ground and he got what he wanted. However, I will say this. I still wish that Trump would have pushed to have the debate done on either Rumble or YouTube or jointly by both, and give Kamala a list of, call it, 18 different content creators. Okay? 6 of them conservative, 6 of them liberal, 6 of them down the middle. Trump gets to pick one, Kamala gets to pick one, and whoever hosts the debate gets to pick one. 3 moderators, and anything's wide open for 90 minutes. I mean, look, I think Rich Barris in his comments are absolutely right. We need to break this crap up. We've got a corrupt media. Doesn't matter if you're talking about ABC, NBC, CBS, doesn't matter who it is. We need to break this crap up. So the best way to do that, just get it off the networks. If they want to simulcast it, that's their business. But let online media do these debates going forward. But that's just me. Anyway. So yeah, Trump held his ground and he got exactly what he wanted. Now, by the way, with regard, wait a minute. I take that back. Kamala Harris did ask for one concession, and I think, according to reports, that the Trump campaign is seriously considered doing this. And if you're wondering what that concession is, well, here you go. I don't know. I hear that inside the Trump campaign, there is very serious debate about whether or not they ought to let Kamala have this. And I'm just saying, I don't know. We shall see. I don't know. There's a lot of back and forth inside the Trump campaign about whether or not they ought to let Kamala have this one point. How it's going to turn out, no idea. No idea at all. Anywho, I'm here all week, folks. Try the veal. All right. One more comment about the debate. This is Michael Whatley, the Republican co-chair. And he had something to say about this debate that's now been agreed to. Folks, please do me a favor. Give me a sound check since I had to step out and step back in. Let me know if the sound is working, and here you go.
President Trump is very ready to debate. He has accepted the rules that were put on the table. Kamala Harris is now coming in and trying to change those debate rules. It is remarkable that she's saying she has to have notes. She needs a crib sheet before she goes in. She wants to sit down to have this conversation. Look, President Trump made it very clear he wants to have debates. He wants to have these conversations. And I think that the American people really should relish the opportunity to see Kamala Harris standing up at a podium for 90 minutes straight without notes and trying to tell people where she stands on these key issues.
Now, I want to say something to what I want to add something on to what Whatley just said. Joe Biden is 81 years old. Okay? 81 years old. And for 90 minutes, he stood up on stage with Donald Trump. Now, granted, he did not do well in that debate. I'm not going to sit here and and litigate what Biden did or did not do against Donald Trump on the June 27th debate. That's not my point. My point is simply this. At 81 years old, Joe Biden had the capability of standing on stage for 90 minutes with Donald Trump. Furthermore, he stood on stage with Donald Trump for 90 minutes at 81 years old with no notes, no access to Google, no access to anything else. He just went in there and did his job. He didn't do it particularly well, but he did his job. I guess I have a question for the Harris campaign. You mean to tell me that you're 20 years younger than Joe Biden and you need all these special exceptions? Why? Well, because she's Kamala and she deserves them. No, you tell me why. Why is it that an 81-year-old man who's a little over 20 years your senior can stand on stage for 90 minutes with no notes, no access to Google, no sitting down, no nothing, and you're younger, you're by a generation, you're younger than he is, and you don't want to do it? You got some kind of problem that you can't? Some kind of physical problem? Do you have memory problems? You can't remember the things you're going to say? Why do you need all this special stuff? Or why did you even request it? Because now you're not going to get it. But, TBA over on Rumble says, she works hard for the money. So hard for the money. WWG1 says 90 minutes. It usually takes Kamala only to. Oh, for heaven's sake, WWG1. Jeez, oh Pete. But seriously, why would she even need all this stuff? She's not going to get it. But I just find it. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. You're right. There were photos of that. You are correct. I'd forgotten about that. But in theory, he should have been up there without notes. Let's put it that way. I am not going to turn this thing into a song request. I mean, you spin me right round. Yeah, great song for Kamala too. Mm-hmm. But the debate is now set. So there you go. All right, where are we? 8:37. Real quick commercial, and then we'll get into some Nightcap stuff. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. You have found your way to one of the finest live streams on the whole of the internet. It is referred to as Chattin on the Porch. We are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so. Also, please leave some comments in the chat. That would really help boost Mr. Algorithm. He likes that sort of thing. Give a thumbs up. Brother's working hard here to try to be entertaining. And finally, share the link around. I would genuinely appreciate it. All right. Well, we have some breaking developments. And Zippy says, with a Rumble rant, thank you for the Rumble rant, Zippy, laying down is about the only thing she can do for 90 minutes. Oh my goodness. This is a WWG1. Are you wanting to sing karaoke tonight with all these lines you're dropping in chat? Good grief. I think you might be loaded and on your way out to a karaoke bar. I'm telling you what, you're just all full of it tonight. My goodness. Good evening, Tiny. Howdy. Good to have you here. Okay, we've got some breaking news. I was listening to the commentator Lionel as I was getting ready for the live stream tonight, and he asks a question: Are the Democrats trying to hand Donald Trump this election? And the reason that he's asking that question is late this afternoon, the following news broke. Jack Smith is engaging in election interference with new grand jury indictment in the J6 case. Oh boy, here we go. Check this out. Following the filing of a superseding indictment on Tuesday by special counsel Jack Smith in the January 6 case against the 2024 GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump, the 45th president said the new indictment, quote, has all the problems of the old and called for it to be dismissed. Quote, In an effort to resurrect a dead witch hunt in Washington, D.C., in an act of desperation and in order to save face, the illegally appointed special counsel, deranged Jack Smith, has brought a ridiculous new indictment against me, which has all the problems of the old indictment and should be dismissed immediately. His Florida document hoax case has been completely dismissed. This is merely an attempt to interfere with the election and distract the American people from the catastrophes Kamala Harris has inflicted on the nation, like our border invasion, migrant crime, rampant inflation, the threat of World War III, and more. Trump concluded with the state of the filing, unprecedented abuse of criminal justice system. Now, let me hang on a minute. Yeah, here's the story I'm looking for. All right, here we go. Yeah, Jack Smith has handed down a new indictment, a superseding indictment. And this story is by Hannah Nightingale. Washington, D.C. grand jury on Tuesday returned a superseding indictment in the January 6th case. The 36-page superseding indictment charges Trump with conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. In a court filing, Special Counsel Jack Smith's office wrote that the superseding indictment, quote, was presented to a new grand jury that had not previously heard evidence in the case and reflects the government's efforts to respect and implement the Supreme Court's holdings and remand instructions in Trump versus United States. In the newest indictment, prosecutors wrote that the defendant had no official responsibilities related to the certification proceedings and he did not have a personal interest as a candidate in named the winner of the election. Judge Tanya Chattin, who's presiding over the case, agreed in early August to delay the case as prosecutors were still assessing the impact of the August immunity ruling, the Supreme Court's immunity ruling, with Chattin setting for a hearing for September the 5th. I swear. Well, yeah, you're right, dear. He cannot let it go. And I think Lionel is onto something, man. Are they trying to give this guy the election? Which, by the way, begs a very important question, if I may ask. If Kamala Harris is doing so well, why is Jack Smith having to resort to this? Zippy over on Rumble with another Rumble rant. Thank you very much for your generosity, sir. Says, this is not a roasting, this is a funeral. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And this is true, too. They could have cut him off. They could have cut off the money, and they didn't do it. Absolutely ridiculous. But again, I asked the question, if she's doing so well, why is Jack Smith having to resort to this? And keep in mind, folks, Judge Marchand's ruling is still hanging out there, and we have no idea how that's going to impact the race yet. No idea. So, yeah, you got that going on. What else have we got happening in the world right now? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, Jack Smith did have some comments for the press about this new superseding indictment. And in an effort to keep everybody well informed of what's going on, we've got his statement to the press right here. So check this out.
Today, I decided to have a Washington, D.C. grand jury indict Trump again. The charges include illegal use of memes and hurting my feelings. When I get home, I'm going to celebrate with my wife and her boyfriend.
Well, there you go. Short, sweet, succinct, and to the point. Thank you, Mr. Smith. TBA over on Rumble says, Dems holding on to the Marchand ruling until they need to release it. Could be. Could be. We'll see about that. We will see about that. Oh, goodness me. Well, here's some more Nightcap news for you. So remember the other day when Robert Kennedy Jr. said that he was filing the paperwork to withdraw his name from certain states. He was going to keep his name on the ballot in a lot of states, but in 10 different battleground states, he had made the statement that he would be withdrawing from the race. Well, filed the paperwork in Pennsylvania, filed the paperwork in Arizona, filed the paperwork. There was a third state too, and I'm forgetting which one it is. However, they're not going to let him go. Or some of them aren't anyway. From Axios, check this out. RFK Jr. cannot escape the blue wall. By Aaron Dougherty, we have the following. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be on the ballot in the battlegrounds of Michigan and Wisconsin in November, even though he suspended his bid and backed former President Trump. Kennedy suspended his campaign to avoid taking votes away from Trump, but now his name will appear on the ballot in the very states that could decide the election. Kennedy did not appear on the ballot in the swing states of Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. His ballot status is unclear in North Carolina. Kennedy's presence on the ballot could attract a small number of voters. Polling from after Vice President Kamala Harris entered the race showed Kennedy started to take more from Trump. He previously posed a roughly equal risk to both parties. Semaphore's David Weigel reports that internal Trump campaign polling showed that Nevada, North Carolina, and Wisconsin were the states where the most Kennedy votes had ranked Trump second. A combination of state laws and overdue deadlines explains why Kennedy is unable to remove his name from the ballot. In Michigan, minority party candidates cannot withdraw. Sherry Hardman, a senior press secretary for the Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, said in a statement to Axios. The Wisconsin Election Commission voted on Tuesday to reject Kennedy's request to withdraw from the ballot. In North Carolina, state officials say that he has been nominated in the state by the We the People Party. As of Tuesday morning, the party has not informed the state board of any plans to change its nomination, per the state's Board of Elections. Quote, if We the People officially withdraws his nomination, the state board would have to consider whether it is practical to remove his name from ballots and reprint ballots at the same time, Public Information Director Patrick Gannon said in a statement. Oh my goodness. Now wait a minute. We have a correction here. With regard to what Jack Smith was planning to do when he went home, he made a misstatement. Apparently, Jack Smith's wife has 2 boyfriends. So I want to thank Gypsy for that correction. She has not 1 boyfriend, but she has 2. So Jack Smith is going to go home, and there will be a quartet of individuals in the Smith household tonight. Thank you for that very interesting correction. I thank you very much, Gypsy. But this is nuts. First, the Democrats do everything they can to keep Donald Trump off the ballot. Now they won't let RFK Jr. get off the. They keep doing everything. They keep Donald Trump from getting on the ballot, and now they're doing everything they can to keep RFK Jr. from getting off the ballot, even though he has said, I am not going to be a declared candidate in any of those states. I tell you what, if people do not pick up on this and see it, and if it's not pointed out and they don't realize it, I don't know what else to do. This is crazy. Absolutely insane, the lengths that these people are going to. TBA says, I'm just a bit tired of the Dems annex trying to rig the election again. Brother, you are absolutely right. Absolutely right. And by the way, let me find this real quick. Did y'all hear about this? According to Cornell West, Kamala Harris offered him a job and to pay off campaign debt if he dropped out. Oh my God. Unbelievable. And my response to this is, you know what? What incentive would Cornell West have to lie about something like that? I mean, seriously. Just unbelievable. The lengths that these people are going to try to stop Trump. Absolutely unbelievable. Oh, by the way, I got to talk about this. Another item for the Nightcap. I don't have the article pulled up, but have you guys heard what's going on in France right now? I've always said that the French are revolting, and God, they're still revolting in more ways than one. Like I said, I haven't got the article pulled up for it, but apparently, and this ought to be a lesson to the Democrats. Remember during the French elections that that Macron and his party conspired with the far left over there to take seats away from Marie Le Pen's National Rally Party? Well, basically, it left a situation in the French Parliament where there's nobody with a majority of seats. So they basically have to form a coalition government. Well, they apparently, Macron's party and the far left, or the Popular Front as they're called, have been negotiating now for weeks. Well, the negotiations have now broken down to the point that Macron has come out and said, I don't care who the far left over there nominate. I'm not going to support anybody for prime minister. And, and Marie Le Pen has come out and said, hey, yeah, I don't care what you guys do. You go ahead and put whoever you up there. I'm going to put up a motion for a vote of no confidence in the French Parliament, which may trigger a whole new set of elections. Who knows? Now, I say that there's an object lesson for the Democrats in this, and it's very simple. There are times when you should let democracy, small d democracy, have her way. And whatever the results are, learn your lesson and accept it. Now, of course, the Democrats will never learn that lesson because they think that power is theirs for all of time. And they're going to do everything they can to hang on to power no matter what. Even if Jamie Raskin and the Democrats come January 6, 2025, have to contest the January 6th certification of a Trump victory. And I'm not pulling that one out of my butt. Jamie Raskin's on record as saying that. So the French are trying to tell the Democrats something. Guys, like it or not, there are moments you need to let democracy have her way. Because now look at what's going on in France. They have a government that is so hamstrung, they're never going to get another thing done, which in one sense isn't necessarily bad for the French people. On the other hand, if they're going to try and restore any measure of order inside that country and get it back to normal, they got to have some kind of a functioning government. And the Democrats are running the risk of doing the very same thing here in America. We're already on the edges of it right now. Disorder, corruption, breakdown, etc. The Democrats keep pushing this thing as far and as hard as they are. It's going to get worse. It's going to become just like France or Great Britain. Yeah, I saw that comment. From Zippy over on Rumble. Yeah, it's going to get bad. Could be I'm misstating the name, so apologies in advance. But yeah, the far left over there, they can't make any kind of headway with Macron. So yeah, you got that going on. What else have we got? You know what? I think we need to bring this train into the station. It's about 9:00 anyway. All right. Tell you what, guys, we're gonna go ahead and call it a night. That was the last pouring of the Nightcap. So I want to thank you guys for being here tonight. You guys, as always, have been a wonderful audience. I love you guys to death. We're gonna be back tomorrow night, 7:30. And like I say, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, we probably ought to live stream this thing. That they're going to do Thursday night on CNN. I got to think about how I want to do it, though. But anyway, we're going to be back this Wednesday night tomorrow for Hump Day. Chatting on the porch. So please bring some friends. As you leave, please give some thumbs up. We would appreciate that. Leave some comments in chat. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please do so. And share the link around. Let's see if we can get this out to a lot of different people. Keep them informed and keep their spirits up in the midst of all this crazy. And with that, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern. And as always, remember the words of that legendary philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, it's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money. You guys have a great night. We'll see you Wednesday at 7:30.